And we'll continue with an overview of what we have today. So we'll have for the next approximately 2 hours an overview of the 10 projects that I just mentioned. We had 5 projects from the application track and an additional 5 from the research track. So all within the domain of AI applied to media, but some more focused on practical applications, more industry driven, others more research driven. Nonetheless, all focused on practical ideas that have AI at its core, and then with an application in the media sector. So we'll do this brief welcome where I'll briefly go through what AI4Media, the project is, at least how I perceive it, of course. Then we'll have the pitches from the application projects. There are 5 each, so we'll keep it short and sweet. We've given each project around 5 minutes to showcase the great work that they've done. We'll then open the floor for about 10 minutes for any Q&A. Keep in mind that you're free to use the chat option or raise your hand at the end of each session, and then we'll try to manage that process to give everyone a bit of a chance to jump in. Just identify the project for which you have a question, and then we'll steer it to the right person. Okay, we'll then stretch our legs for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll continue with the research projects, Q&A again, and then we'll wrap up. Actually, before I noticed that we do have our coordinators from the AI4Media project. So Yanis, feel ready. If you'd like to add anything before I continue, I give you the floor for any brief words.
Thank you, Samuel. Good morning to everyone. Just 1 minute from my side. It is a great pleasure to have this event today, to see all these excellent results. So I would just like to mention that I would like to thank very much all the projects for the interest and the proposals they submitted some time ago. And then for the excellent collaboration, we didn't have any major issues with any of the projects during execution. I think it was a very smooth collaboration. And now looking forward to the great results. And I would like to thank and congratulate F6S for handling all these quite challenging and complicated procedures so well, because it is a lot of work from publishing the call to selecting the the projects, and then monitor the whole procedure with the help of the consortium. I would also like to thank the members of the consortium who had the role of how we call it, the mentor, let's say, for its project. So yes, thanks to everyone being involved, and looking forward to see the results. And I hope this will have a long-lasting impact, and will help both companies and the research groups involved to build on these results and continue towards this interesting direction, I think. So that's it from my side.
Thank you very much, Yanis, for the kind words as well. Let me also reiterate, more than the work that F6S had, which is of course always plenty. It's a challenge, but I do want to, for any coach that might be here, and even if further not, because this is public, the coaches, the mentors did have a fantastic, a very important role, and it's they deserve also the credit for the support, which is always important to help the sub-grantees, whether they're the 9-month projects in the application case or 12 months for the research, to make it to question themselves, to have a critical review of the work that they do. It's very much appreciated. I'm not sure if already you'd like to add in another 2 or 3 words.
No, so we would like to thank all the projects, of course, for the great work and the collaboration and the the good outcomes, and I'm looking forward to seeing them presenting this work and hoping for another collaboration in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Feel ready. So, so that I don't take too much more time beyond the 10 minutes that we've had scheduled for the welcome, I will just do a very brief review of what AI4Media is. And although I've done this presentation several times, the way I do it is never the same. So, what is AI4Media's mission? And essentially, in a nutshell, it's about delivering the next generation, state-of-the-art research and training that we can put at the service of media, the domain itself, society, and democracy, while, of course, keeping in mind some important values such as ethics and trustworthiness. And this is particularly important today and age. We see many tools that are emerging that are going to make our lives much more easier, the work that we do, but there are many ethical implications behind them. And it's something that we have to keep in mind, and how we use these tools for in their various possibilities. So that's kind of what we also have in mind in many kind of different branches of AI, as we'll see also today, considering just 10 projects that we have here, plus 10 that are already ongoing at the moment, which I know that we have many representatives in the session today. So in a nutshell, that's where we want to do. We want to develop new state-of-the-art research, new training, new applications that all embedded deliver value to media, while keep in mind these two core values among others. So how do we plan to achieve that? Essentially, in two ways. First, by becoming a center of excellence in the sense that we want to take all of the learnings that we do, all of the activities, all of the research, all of the applications, and establish a virtual center of excellence where all that information can be accessed by this, let's say, second branch of a broad network of researchers, particularly in Europe, but also beyond. So we want to have that virtual ecosystem, that platform where information is hosted and where people can go connect, get that information, contribute to it, and further expand this center of excellence. We want to be the place to go when it comes to AI and all resources related to AI, with a particular focus on media itself. So when you question why the media, well, I think it's almost, I would risk saying a kind of obvious answer, and it's because media is so transversal, so predominant in everything that we do and consume on a day-to-day basis, whether that be information from not news and journalism related, but all kinds of information and so forth. Then we have news and journalism, that which we consume on the radio, on the television, on our smartphones, on our tablets, on our computers. It's just information that we collect and we use. Then, of course, social media. I'm sure most of us have navigated through one or more social media accounts. AI is increasingly being a predominant force there, and it has many implications. Entertainment as well, movies, television, the theater as well, which jumps into arts and creativity. So media is everywhere, and AI can be everywhere as well. So there is a clear convergence here that we've taken on as part of this project, and that's why the focus on at least 5 of these main areas. So what does the project have to offer? So this 4-year project, which is now entering soon into its 4th and last year, has, let's say, 6 main pillars. We have the European Media AI Research Agenda and Observatory, where we essentially look at the state of the art of what is being done in terms of research, and we make that information also available to the public. We have research and innovation activities. So we are a research project as well, a very thorough and very robust research project where we develop, pardon the redundancy, different types of research activities related in AI and with a focus on media, as well as then look for the convergence and expand that into innovation. We take the research that we've been doing in the project and we look to see how we can apply that into specific use cases. We have many use cases already predefined, others that have sort of expanded from these. Then we have the equity-free funding, which is basically why we're here today. We had 2 million euros to fund 20 projects. We'll be looking at the first 10 that have been funded today. Again, as I've mentioned before, we have another 10 ongoing that will run until November and then February of 2024. We have an AI doctoral academy, which is basically our way of fostering the training activities that we mentioned at the beginning. And then we have the virtual center of excellence and our ecosystem, which is sort of the core where we harness everything, we collect everything that we've developed and make it available to our community and allow for researchers and industry players to meet, come together to make use of the information that is collected, but also contribute to that ecosystem as well. So very briefly, hopefully in an understandable way, that is, and of course, in a very limited manner, because the project is so much more. That is what AI4Media is. We, of course, for those that aren't aware, that might be getting to know AI4Media for the first time today, we encourage you to visit our website, ai4media.eu, our social media accounts, and look and read more about what we have and what we're doing and what we have to offer. So that being said, I would suggest that we continue with the program and we get to meet the 10 funded projects. Okay, the way that we've structured it, and as I showed in the agenda today, we'll start with the application projects. We have, again, we have 5 projects: AIEDJ, SEMA, QA, Imprevi, and Res. Okay, so we'll be going in alphabetical order. And again, we'll give each one of them 5 minutes to shine, to show us what they've developed, what kind of value they've delivered, the innovations that they've delivered, and maybe how you might be able to, as an external party, make use of or connect with this project and their representatives in further, let's say, exploiting their results. So that being said, I would now give the floor to AIEDJ through David, if I may. So David, the floor is yours. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Cool. Thank you very much. I'm going to, can you, no, you have allowed me to share. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can all see a blue screen now with yellow, some yellow on it.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Great, thanks. Yeah, hi, I'm David Hoger, co-founder of a company called MusicQ, and we do B2B music services via AI. That means mostly what we do is not generative AI, which are a lot of people talking about these days in music, but we do music discovery, meaning what humans have generated, we want to make it more discoverable, because that's the problem we want to solve. There's data that proves that more than 91% of music that is on Spotify or other streaming services is almost never heard. So the amount of music in all that millions and millions of songs that are available are really don't find their listeners, don't find their fan base, etc. And there's around about 80 million songs on each of the big streaming services. That means more music than any consumer can listen to on the other side. But current recommendation engines and yeah, the whole way the search works lead to filter bubbles or lead to echo chambers, as you will. And the what we do is, in a B2B case, deliver solutions that make music more flexibly discoverable, because we have an auto-tagging engine that can that processes audio files and automatically tags them in 35 different categories. There's also some other auto-tagging companies worldwide, but we are the ones that do it most granular and in the most detailed way. So we have more than 370 different tags right now. So a tag can be something like happy or sad or fast, slow, and these kind of things. I will show more later. We do this with this. We can enable rights holders to find their own music. when they want to pitch their music to, let's say, commercials or movies where they want to place their own music. And we, of course, on the other side, make it easier for brands or directors to find on a very detailed level the perfect music for their needs. And in the AI4Media project, where we have developed an application that shifts this more to a consumer level, because we've seen that a lot of people are not really happy with the playlists that Spotify delivers them. So mostly these are predefined playlists. There's also similarity search on Spotify, but it's not really like a DJ application where you would want to shout the DJ something in the ear. So it's something like, hey, give me something more energetic or something like that. So you have very static recommendations on streaming services. And we delivered that and it was working well. But by a coincidence, or maybe just because we were not the only ones having this idea, Spotify in the meanwhile published exactly that, really exactly that, which is on the one hand a problem because we could not really monetize that. We have no power in terms of marketing to compete with Spotify on this. On the other side, it really is a good sign because it validated the idea really well. So Spotify has released an application that's also called AI DJ in the US so far, but it will come to Europe as well. So that's why we basically decided to not really proceed with monetizing the idea. Still, though, I consider it a success because it was, we really have seen that what we ended up doing was working well, both technically, the algorithm worked well, but also the business case. I will use the next, I think, 1 or 2 minutes to show what we're actually doing now. Also, some of the stuff that we have done in the program led to things like this, but mostly it's our core, what we consider our core business. I will quickly switch screens. So I'm going here. The second big news, besides the Spotify doing the same, the second big news is that we have in the meanwhile been acquired by a company that's called Songtrader. So we still do business as our in our own entity. So MusicCube continues to exist, but more and more we are also a service provider for this company called Songtrader. And Songtrader does kind of the same like we do. So it's a really good match. We are now their AI provider internally, but they also do the next step via getting licenses from White Solar. So if you are a brand or a director and need specific music, you can now find it via our engine and use the Songtrader technology to license that directly, so you can be on the safe side for your music search. And what I want to show you is the search engine as we've built it. So we, as I said, 35 different categories. This can be something like a genre, very basic stuff, or moods. So you can do something like, give me, let's say, calm songs. And then it filters automatically those songs. Then you can say something like with female vocals. So you have calm songs with female vocals. And then you can say something like, let's say, a use case. So I need, a use case doesn't have much more there, but let's say audience age. So we predict the target audiences for songs. You can say something now like calm songs with female vocals that are suitable for Generation Z. And this is something very specific for music users, because a lot of them have old white men deciding about what music will be used, but they don't even know what younger people like Gen Z may want to hear. And just, I think I'm over time already, so I would say now let's keep it like this. Please feel free to get in touch with me. Happy to have discussions about all things music, all things AI. Really excited to be part of this, and thanks a lot for really this opportunity. It was a pleasure to be part of this. So thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Definitely a really interesting project. Glad that there's an alignment with you. We all love music, so I'm sure if someone here is not a Spotify fan, then maybe you can reach out to David and find the next best thing, or equally the best thing. But yeah, good luck with the project moving forward. Thank you again. So now we continue alphabetically to the CMIP project. So that's with you, or 5 minutes. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Samuel. Hello, good morning, everyone. Let me share the screen. 1 second. Okay, I hope you can see that now.
It's coming up.
Cool.
Good.
So yeah, we are the CIMA project, which stands for Collaborative Intelligence for Media Authentication. What we basically build is a tool to help fact checkers fight the spread of disinformation, and also as part of the media authentication process, make it easier to collect evidence and faster and more reproducible. So the problem we are solving is the spread of disinformation, and we've all been seeing with the recent AI advancements that has become even a bigger problem. We've seen like the fake Trump arrested photos, the Pope in Balenciaga. This is running all across social media. And the problem is that fact-checking efforts are very manual, and we're trying to help them to scale these efforts to address the volumes of fake content that is going on. Currently, there are some solutions that are helping in this domain, solutions that are from the open source intelligence community. And you can see just a sample of this. The main challenges are that these tools are fragmented. They offer various capabilities, but spread across many different tools. It's very individualized. They're not built for a collaborative investigation, and unstructured. So you go through these tools, but it doesn't feel like something that is like a standardized process that you can reproduce. So what we have built aims to address these challenges by two means. First of all, is leveraging advancements in NLP and computer vision, bringing this to the fact-checking domain as part of a workflow that is centralized, collaborative, and structured. So this workflow allows you to collect evidence more quickly and easier. And as part of this, the platform provides a central interface. We've used Twitter as the basically the platform we are providing for the users to collaborate on. And it's also collaborative, and it's also allowing you to run through checklists, standardized processes, so this all becomes more structured. So let me show you how that looks like. You can use the regular Twitter UI and just tag a bot. It's called the fact check this. And it automatically replies with answers. So for example, you can provide it this image. This is like one of my favorite examples. I don't know if you saw the Simpsons predicted the Capitol riots rumor. So as a reply, it responds with a fact check from AFP that this has been manipulated. What you can also do is check a specific website. So for example, you see that this website has already published 4 false stories. And you can also check a specific story. So we would analyze the story, extract the claim, and also run this through a fact check database and reply to your tweet with the relevant fact check. You can see the list of fact checkers that we have in our database, several dozens. And also you can select fact checks from a specific organization, like if you want to have fact checkers, fact checks from just lead stories about election fraud. Cool, so this is the first aspect. The second aspect is related to the preservation of evidence. And here we integrated a tool that allows you to collect screenshots. But unlike the existing tools like archive.org, etc., this is also timestamped and electronically signed, so it's very easy to verify. So we've noticed that it's creating a lot of value for the fact checkers, such that it's timestamped and verified compared to the existing tools. You can see here how that looks. Basically, you have the same screenshot, but you can see at the bottom the timestamp and also the electronic signature. Cool. So we have launched this product in October, and the response was quite positive. We have a couple of fact-checking organizations using this, and this has overall helped to reduce, we estimate, between 20 to 30% of their time needed for media authentication. Still, we have had some challenges. If you've been following Twitter, following the Musk acquisition, you know, it's been a bit hectic over there. Also, everything related to the API in general. So we have been looking also to create like a standalone tool that would be independent of Twitter, but this is still ongoing. And we also made some adjustments following the feedback. For example, taking the tool private, because some fact checkers didn't want to disclose all of the investigations publicly. So they had like a private timeline where they can interact with the bot. All right, so this is our team. And with this, I would also like to thank our advisors, Nikos Saris and Simeon Papadopoulos, who've been really incredible in their support for this project. And with this, I'll wrap up and just we want to thank the AI4Media team and Samuel. And this has been an incredible opportunity. Really enjoyed this process. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Or, for the presentation. I already have a question that I want to ask, but I'll leave it to the end where the Q&A will happen. And you mentioned there what we don't have here today, but Katerina was also the monitor of your project, so she also deserves some credit for the support that she provided. Yes. And as well. So thank you again, Or, for the presentation. So now we move on to, I think it's George from the QA project.
Yes, thank you, Samuel.
Thank you.
I'm trying to share my screen. Yeah, it seems to work, but I'm just sharing now. I think you must be seeing
yeah, looks fine.
The
Thank
screen,
you.
so fine. Okay, so I'm happy to be here and happy to be being part of AI4Media. It was really a great opportunity for us. We'll present the Q project, which is about enabling multi-perspective exploration of digital collections. And 27th of October this year, it is the UNESCO World Audiovisual Heritage, and probably you know that if you work in media. And there is already a large effort in digitization, but does this digitization also mean access? That's a question that we actually have been asking ourselves a long time ago. We don't think that it is basically the same thing, so the increased access. So we work more on this increased access. On the other side, there are websites like the Europeana website, a very big European initiative, basically that collects information from cultural heritage actors, museums, libraries, and has already a large collection of records. 50 million records for engaging with stories and educational materials, creating that. And if you have not visited this website, please go there and have a look. It is really impressive what it has. However, in a way, finding what content what is the content I should basically look at, what is how I explore a collection in cultural heritage, which is the domain of Q, is a bit difficult because, well, metadata, the quality of the metadata in these different items that are coming from many, let's say, museums around Europe, it's not the same all the time. It's not always good. And so in a way, we need other ways to explore this content. Europeana works now for editorials, creating editorials and curating all this information, but you can imagine that 50 million records is a lot of things to curate. And the current recommendations basically don't fit well to allow this multi-perspective exploration. So the problem we are solving is basically how can cultural professionals and researchers explore these collections in a more holistic way. That's the main aim of Q. And we came up with the introduction of story space. So in a way, using AI to surface non-obvious connections between records and between collections. That's the idea of a story space, to allow basically people to move from one, if you want, area of interest to another. So in a way, linking everything together in an explainable way, because that's also part of it. So if you look at this visual, imagine those are different photos and videos, items from cultural heritage. So we allow to curate, make connections automatically, and in a way, kind of, let's say, create, if you want, related paths in this kind of, let's say, very advanced or complex interlinked story space. So that's basically what we're doing. What we have developed is a web-based application that essentially is a recommendation engine with a front end that shows which recommendations are basically being shown. And you see a couple of screenshots here. And you see basically the different dimensions we recommend. We recommend based on if this content has been reduced, based on the kind of, let's say, category, if it is the landscape and things like that, based on metadata, persons and people who are part of this item. So essentially, the main innovation was this different connection that we create between records and editorials together. And with different dimensions that of features that you recommend on specifically use, location, name, state, provider, and topic. And we have provided an explainable UI, so basically to kind of, let's say, let people understand why these recommendations are there, and not leave it as a black box. We tested this and it was pretty successful. So basically it was interesting to see that with the limited testing that we did, basically people were happy to browse and could explore the collections, and that was okay. So the project team, who we are, we are software people who work in AI many years, since 2000, beginning of 2000 actually, when it was not that hype like today. But with a focus of designing, developing, and operating web-based solutions at scale. So we like to do a research innovation project because this is how I think this AI field is working, is developing very fast. We saw that in the past. And our main aim is, in a way, kind of, let's say, manage large collections of data, discovery, presentation, and organization of content. We develop on, we are, what we say here, full stack, backend services, user interfaces, user interaction, operations. Also, we basically have our own cloud infrastructure here, or server infrastructure to do that. Here are my colleagues. I would like to thank especially Bogdan and the people at F6S who supported us. Bogdan Ionescu was our coach, and it was really great working with you all together. What is the outlook? Now we have basically a project. We started a project beginning of this year, which is about deploying and demonstrating a 3D cultural heritage space. This is a project that we do with Europeana. So there is an opportunity here that the developments that we did in Q to implement them in the Europeana website. We look forward to ImageClef 2024. There was an attempt in 2023, but we look forward there to kind of, let's say, introduce a recommending task based on the data that we have gathered from the cultural heritage. We are packaging, we have already packaged this recommender as a service in our own platform, the MyMedia platform, and now trying to integrate it in several SaaS applications that we actually have developed. Thank you very much. We look forward to talking to you. If you would like to contact us, use this link, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you very much, George, for the presentation. And picking up on your last note, again, if you have any questions, please start filling the chat box in, or just keep them to yourselves until we have the Q&A in 2 presentations time. That being said, I see that Marta is already with her camera on, so I'll give you the floor for the InPrevi project. The floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Yes. Hi, 1 second. Let me share the screen.
Of course. If you go full screen, we're ready to go.
Yeah, 1 second. Can you see it now?
It looks great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Where's yours?
Hi, everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to see you all again. I'm going to talk about the detection of low quality web traffic video advertising campaign using analytical methods. I'm a member of Jet Internet Media, which is a company of digital marketing. And in this case, we are going to talk about those YouTube ads, focusing the project on the analysis of fraudulent traffic originating from YouTube. First, let's begin with the problem. We are working on this type of ad since 2020, and it grew so fast. Why? The main reason is that we generated more conversion than we paid. The difference in conversions is good for us. We paid for one, but we earned for several. So what's the problem? If you think about it, the most probable is that it was generated by bots. The objective is to identify this type of traffic to avoid it. So what we have done to solve this problem can be summarized in 3 phases. Let's go over the most important findings. First of all, multivariate analysis. The most interesting thing about it is that the temporal graph shows over the time a decrease in conversion difference along with an increase in traffic quality score. This may be attributed to Google's efforts to improve the algorithm's quality. And in relation with correlations, it's nothing relevant at all. Regarding vCrammers, it shows one crucial finding. The keyword category plays a significant role for the conversion difference and the traffic quality score. Third time, there are keyword categories with more invalidation than others, strongly impacting the traffic quality. There are also instances of traffic leaks to other countries than the target one, possibly influenced by VPNs. In relation with the predictive model, the project objective is to predict when our ads will have poor traffic quality to avoid it. Therefore, we employed different predictive models. The target variable is categorical, so we created classification models using 3 perspectives. The first one, modeling by variable selection, removing variables from a linear model. The second one is classification models like random forest or GBM. And the last one is H2O models like GBM or AutoML, which automatically selects the best model for our data. The results showed that the best model is the GBM grid generated by AutoML of H2O model with an accuracy of 99.57%. However, this accuracy is slightly higher than the accuracy of the other classification models. Cross-validation confirmed that there is no overfitting, so the results were consistent. Then, my first thought was, how is possible to have such remarkable results? Sorry. It is due to the bias of the target variable, with 92% of the data concentrated on one value, but traffic, as you can see in this graph. So errors are minimized. We choose AutoML, but all our models perform exceptionally well for the prediction purposes. For the next steps, our primary focus has been on improving the quality of our traffic by introducing keyword categories that offer better quality score. This coupled with the with the continuous improvement in Google algorithms, will result in higher percentage of campaigns with good quality traffic. In addition, we will be adjusting the models to maintain a good predictive capacity. These efforts will significantly increase the effectiveness of our advertising ads. Lastly, let's talk about the valuable insight we have learned from this project that can help us in all our digital marketing campaigns. We are currently working on improving the traffic quality of our ads. And so far, we have seen a positive impact on performance. Thanks to this, we can improve our segmentation strategy and get quality traffic. In turn, being able to know that we are launching good campaigns make us reduce losses. And that's all. I don't know why I go so fast, but this is the team. Fernando's here today with us. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation as much as I did, and I want to thank you for all your support during the whole process, and it was a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you very much, Marta. The feelings are reciprocal, I would say. Working with great projects is always a pleasure. That being said, we move on to our last project of the application track, and that leads us to George from the VRES project. The floor is yours.
Thanks,
bring your questions. Thanks.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity also to present briefly again what we achieved in the AI4Media Open Call 1. We were also part of the application track. Our project was called VRES, which is short for Varia Research, which is our online application that tries to enable journalists to conduct efficient online research. And why is that important in the first place? Well, because today the online research process for most journalists looks pretty much like this. So you see it visibly illustrated on the right-hand side. But basically, it's a messy forest of tools. It's full of workarounds. Most of these tools are also very much disconnected. So you cannot really work through this in a structured way. And basically, all in all, it centers in around copy pasting links from your online research into a Word or into a Google Sheet. And obviously, if you just copy links into Word files or Google Docs, automation is barely possible. And now everyone is talking about AI. Everyone is talking about the tools that are coming to the floor and how maybe generative AI can produce news articles and so on. That's all fine and good. But if the standard research process still centers around copy pasting links into Word file, a lot of the potential efficiency gains are being left on the street. So we wanted to tackle that, and we wanted to really bring AI also to the front rows, to the individual journalists. So we said, wouldn't it be nice if you would have an integrated research application that actually puts an end to current workarounds? One where you could do media monitoring and research organization in the same common place, and would no longer have to rely on this forest of tools that you have seen just before. And on top of that, you could benefit from all these AI power that is now available. So you could receive automated summaries and maybe also content recommendations to see how other sources are covering your topics. And that's essentially exactly what we did. We developed Varia Research. You can already see it running on the left. The goal for us during the project was really also to launch and release Varia Research 1.0 to the public, which we succeeded at last July. So since then, the application is up and running and has obviously been further developed. You can go at it and try it out yourself on www.varia.media. And also, obviously, of course, continue to provide us feedback how we could even further improve it. In short, what can users do with Varia Research? So if you want to follow all your relevant sources in one place, you can do that. Varia Research is a fully fledged news monitoring tool, which allows you to follow RSS sources. It has Bing deeply integrated, so you can also follow topics over a broad scope of sources. You can also, of course, organize everything that you find. So you can quit copy pasting links into Word documents, but instead you can create smart dossiers where you can store everything that belongs to one story in one place. And if you want to be able to just judge quickly if your article is relevant to your work, you will find that every article that you store in Wire Research receives automated summaries, receives automated entity detection and sentiment analysis, which really allows you to, at a glance, judge whether this article is relevant for your research or not. So this accelerates your research process vastly. And last, as I already hinted to before, you want maybe to see how other sources are covering your research topic, also to discover different perspectives on your story and on your topic, and to also enable pluralistic reporting. We integrated the recommendation system in the application that shows you at the click of a button how major news outlets from around the world are covering your story. So you can integrate different perspectives and different sources with ease also through Wire Research. All in all, this leads the user to a massive increase in efficiency. So we stated the goal in the beginning that our target is to increase user efficiency in online research. And based on user feedback, our journalists that are using Wire Research can accelerate their research efficiency by up to 25%. How are we different to what's out there? So most of you probably know the tools that are listed on top. They each do a brilliant job, usually at one aspect. So they are either brilliant media monitoring tools, or like Google Docs, they are brilliant for organizing and sharing files. But none of the existing solutions is really focusing on the journalistic research process as a whole. That's why we see Wire Research differentiating itself from the competition. We really focus on the entire customer journey. We focus on the holistic research process that a journalist is going through, from discovering relevant news to organizing the research documents, and then also being able to work with this in the CMS, integrating the content to finally publish good quality journalism with the support of AI. How far have we come so far? As I mentioned before, we launched this during the AI4Media program last year. We have since grown to about 500 subscribers by now. They have stored over 4,000 documents in our application. They have created over 500 dossiers that are obviously growing. And as you can see by the logos, we have some journalists from leading European publications that are using Wire Research. All of them so far either in the it's a freemium product tier, or they're using our premium tier. And as you can also see hinted on the right-hand side, we are still developing the product further, and we are about to launch our professional and enterprise licenses as well. That's the team behind Wire Research. So obviously, without also the team of AI4Media, this would not have been possible. So thanks also to Samuel and the entire team for supporting and coaching us through this process. If you want to have a go at Wire Research, visit us online. And also, if you have questions for the product, as I have understood, the Q&A is just following up. So yeah, let's hear it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George, for the presentation, which concludes our, let's say, first round of pitches, if I can say, with 5 projects, 5 application projects, all really interesting solutions, which were deserved the funding that they received, great outputs. So that being said, we can jump to the Q&A. We have around 10 minutes or so for any questions from the audience. As I was recapping some of the presentations and thinking about the ongoing projects as well, I'm kind of feel that there are some room for collaboration, some idea sharing. So for any of our second open call sub-grantees that are in the audience, I think, reach out to me, use me as your interface to get in touch with one or more projects as you see fit. So yeah, let me kick off the Q&A, since I don't see any in the chat, and Ellie will help me monitor anything that pops in. But I did have a question for OR, and in particular the SEMA project, because I was my specific question to you is, how open do you think these social media platforms are to embrace these fact-checking solutions, when there's a real possibility that all of the misinformation that might be there is highly, I'm going to use a word that I know I'm going to say wrong, but it really has like a monetizing potential, you know what I mean? Like maybe the return on having all that fake news is a lot more than getting that information sorted out correctly. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Hopefully you're still around, or that was directed to you. I think he left. Yeah, or has unfortunately left or dropped out. Okay, so my question is not going to have an answer unless Paulo, you have an answer to my question.
No, I have another question.
All right.
Sorry
well, anyone with an experience want to enlighten me on my doubt? What's the actual potential value of these tools when there's so much money to make off of fake news these days? No, maybe, or we'll jump back in. Or Yanis, maybe you have the answer to my question.
Of course, I don't have like a definite and complete answer. I have to say, following this field, that it is a very valid question. And indeed, there is such kind of conflict of, let's call it interest in such platforms. It's not only on social platforms, but also on websites and other sites that depend on the traffic. They face, let's say, similar dilemmas. But on the other hand, there is a quite strong, and it's becoming even stronger, regulatory framework around those sites. And there are several rules and values that these organizations have to respect. So there is also some pressure to detect and eliminate some such content, and for the platform to show that they are taking appropriate measures towards this direction. So these tools can be part of these measures. This does not solve everything, of course, and someone, of course, might say that if the platforms allow too much disinformation, they might attract a lot of traffic for some time, but then they might lose a lot of reputation, and then traffic might decrease. So let's say it is a balance between all these aspects, profit, regulation, user behavior, and of course, many other aspects as well. This is, let's say, these are my thoughts on this.
Yeah, good answer. Knowing how much money Elon Musk has lost with Twitter, I'm sure he has this question in the back of his mind, how much money he can make off of misleading information, to say the least. Thank you, Yanis. So, Paulo, floor is yours for your questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I thought these presentations were very interesting, but there was an emphasis on some parts that I was expecting. I wanted to listen because it's interesting for me, which is the communication and exploitation of all these tools during the project and afterwards, after the project. How did these things go? Because we are talking about very competitive spaces in terms of other companies working on those spaces. And one of the things that we have is a difficulty in the exposure of our products when we have so much else happening at the same time. My question to you all, I heard from the Music Cube, from David, he told us very clearly that, well, they had this giant coming and stumping them, and that's it. Well, I understand that. But the others, I would also like to know, how was the market reaction to them? Because we are here on a very limited world, a limited scope. We have this funding, so we have some kind of protection, but we also need then to grow. And I would like to know about the growing of all this that happened. So this doesn't have a specific target. I'm talking to all these people in the application area that have developed projects.
Thanks, Paulo. Great question. George Ioannidis, George Horn, who's still on. Marta, anybody want to take
Yes,
a shot at?
I can start here somewhere. Yes. Well, it's really a difficult point, basically, because if you're facing with giants, recommendations and things like that, people are building, at least at the part we are building. So how we are solving that is basically focusing on a specific domain, which is cultural heritage, and in this area we try to, we kind of, let's say, improve, if you want, the level of how far we can go. So that's the part of the exploitation. As I try to present, basically what the route we are going. We provide this as a service, at least for this Europeana library, for Europeana, and we will try to integrate it. So this is not sure, because everyone is developing on their own recommendations. There are different things out there, so it's a matter of also finding the right moment. But also part of this work that we did is also integrated in the platform that we have, which is basically a platform that allows aggregation, indexing, analysis of data, and in this respect generates a lot of metadata that we use in order to recommend items. It's very difficult to kind of, let's say, make, if you want, the next unicorn here, but that's something we are hoping to achieve at some point. Yeah. Especially in Europe, the unicorns in Europe are difficult.
Thank you, George. Fernando, you also have your hand up.
Yeah. In terms of communication and dissemination of the project achievement, we presented the technical work in the internet-based conference in Lisbon last year, and we've been also invited to create an extended paper that has been published, where we detail all the technical aspects of the project. Then, in terms of the business, we use this tool to manage the video ad business unit last year, where we identified that most of the web traffic that we generated by our campaign were based on robots, or at least in very pure quality score. So we decided to reduce the investment in this unit, and also has motivated us to keep on working in this data science aspect based on the performance data of our campaigns in order to optimize automatically the campaign. So the work done in this project has enabled us to increase both the company awareness in the scientific community, but also at business level to improve the management.
Thanks, Fernando. And you, George?
Maybe just to add, I think this depends a lot also on how small you make your niche, the one you're targeting. And like in our case, we are targeting a lot the journalistic niche. So we are not just media, which is a broad field, but we're targeting journalism, which is rather specific. So there, I would say you're rather safe from big players and big competition, like the Spotify example showed. At the same time, this seems to be or tends to be a close-knit community. So communication within that niche community is rather vibrant, and those journalists or the broad figures of journalism tend to go to the same festivals, tend to go to the same events, or be speakers at similar festivals and events. So your tool can get a lot of exposure and travel far within a small niche if you make it clear enough what your niche is. And I think that would be my advice also for this program or your project.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Paulo, which generated some good discussion. So we're not too far behind schedule. So I was going to give the floor to one more question. So hands raised, Rui. Floor is yours for one last question before we continue. You're muted. You're muted, Rui.
Sorry.
No problem.
So my question is for George and Varia. So related to these 480 subscribers you mentioned, could you tell us what is the percentage of premium?
It's about 10% paid, 10%. Growing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, fantastic. So what I will suggest is, if anything else comes to the mind of anyone else in the call, feel free to use us as an interface, and we'll get your questions shared to the respective subgrantee. If, again, there's any potential collaboration you see, any further discussions you might want to have, let us know, and then we'll try to put you in contact if there is a mutual interest. All right, so what I'm going to suggest, because, again, we're not too bad on time, we take 30 seconds just to stretch our legs. So that was a bit more. Had some issues getting the presentation to run again. I hope everyone is back in, or at least our presenters, starting with Vasilios from the Edge AI UAV project. Are you with us, Vasilios?
Here I am. Hi, Samuel.
Fantastic. Good to see you again. So I would suggest that we continue for our next, let's say, lightning round of 5 interesting research projects, and we'll start with you, Edge AI4 UAV. The floor is yours for the next 5 minutes to show us the great work that you've done. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. I will show my presentation. I hope we can see it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. My name is Vasilis Kratsis, and I will present you the problem, the solution, and the results of the project with title Computer Vision and Artificial Intelligence Algorithms, Edge Computation on UAVs. The project was implemented by our research team at the International Hellenic University. As you can see in the figures, the problem of the project was to deliver a framework for moving people detection, tracking, and autonomous UAV control at real time through a reactive unmanned aerial vehicle. So a drone, let's say, will be used in order to detect and track a human target and follow a specific scenario over him. All the necessary processing will be done on the edge by using lightweight algorithms and hardware implementation on the drone. The solution proposed was to implement an edge computation node for a drone equipped with a stereoscopic camera in order to achieve human detection, tracking, and UAV control. This solution makes use of lightweight computer vision and artificial intelligence algorithms. The results of the algorithms are exploited by an embedded decision-making module, and this module has the ability to define the navigation behavior of the UAV in a dynamic manner at real time in order to accomplish the continuous tracking of a specific human target. The integration problem was double, let's say. First, the hardware integration was implemented by using a Tarot UAV with PX4 ArduPilot processor, a ZBox mini PC, and a Z2i camera, which were properly connected on the drone. The software integration was also tested by measuring the performance and the capability of the execution of computer vision algorithms and navigation algorithms on the ZBox. Also, the connection of the navigation algorithm with the drone was implemented with the controller of the drone. The key performance indicators show that the whole system works. We have tested more than 40 algorithms regarding also the detection, the tracking, and the pose estimation of human targets. The best results, the best algorithms were used, and gave us some results regarding the scenarios that are shown in this table. For example, the human detection algorithms gave us a success of 96%. The re-identification algorithms give us an 88% result. The human tracking algorithms gave us a 94% results, and so on. Let's present the overall system precision. That is 96% at single person environments, 91% at multiple person environments. So it seems that the systems works in most cases with corresponding, let's say, percentages. And that was the proof, let's say, that the whole system works. Now, the integration of selected hardware and software solutions in the edge node was successful. The lightweight algorithms have been proven capable to deal with the problem in real time in most cases. The edge processor has been proven capable to process the information and give commands in real time. The duration of the flight was necessarily short due to the required power. In our experiments, it did not exceed 5 minutes for safety reasons. Greater autonomy should be achieved, and it could be achieved by choosing better equipment, maybe, and also some future technologies regarding batteries will give another solution for this problem. The basic idea of the project was to be used in film shoots, in cinematography. The camera may follow an actor or some other target. It can also perform various flight scenarios around this target. Alternatively, the same concept can be applied in cases of natural disasters where it is necessary to locate and track people in danger. Yet another application may be the track of criminals to enhance disinfection and citizen security. Of course, in order to be able to exploit such an application commercially, the autonomy of the flight should be enhanced either by the improvement of battery technology in the future or by choosing more powerful UAVs for use. The project team in our university, the people involved in this project was, except me, of course, George, Theophanis, Yannis, Fotis, Kosmas, Vasilis, Leonidas, and Harilaos, all members of the International Hellenic University. 5 of them you can see in the photo. In general, this project helped our team to develop an expertise in artificial intelligence skilled drone technology, able to be used in other projects that we plan for the near future. It gave us in-depth knowledge of drone technology, experience on applying computer vision in real-life applications, knowledge about designing lightweight deep learning algorithms, experience in collaborating as a team towards achieving common targets.
I wonder
the privilege and satisfaction for working with AI4Media consortium members. We owe special thanks to Samuel for his continuous help, and of course to Professor Lorenzo Saidenari for the amazing coaching of our project. Our future actions, our final goal for the project is to reach a high TRL, which will allow the people involved to create maybe a spin-off company towards exploiting the results of the project. The team also aims to go a step beyond the AI4UAV project results, applying them to other domains like lifeguarding, fire and environmental pollution, etc. We have already applied proposals to EU and national funding agencies, leading the project results multiple steps beyond its initial implementation. All partners of AI4Media network are welcome for cooperations. Thank you very much, all of you again. And the questions, I think, at the end of all presentations. Thank you.
Yes, we'll leave questions until the end. Thank you, Vasilis, for the presentation. All right, so that leads us to our next project. Alphabetical order is NeurAdapt with Matt. Oh, sorry, not changing the name. Saw the right name, saw the wrong person. Ilias, sorry.
Yeah.
Floor is yours for NeurAdapt.
Yeah. I believe you can see my screen. Is that right?
Looks great. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. I'm Elias Theodrakopoulos, and I'll present you the project NeurAdapt, which was run from Irida Labs. Irida Labs, sorry, few words for the beneficiary. Irida Labs, despite it is a research project, Irida Labs is actually a company, is an SME from Greece, with currently about 35 employees. Most of them are machine learning engineers, and Irida Labs' business is to develop, to deliver solutions to embedded vision problems, both in consumer and industrial applications, with clients all over Europe and also US and China. The core team for working on NeurAdapt project was Nikos Fagoulis, which is the CTO of the company, me as the lead researchers, and Dr. Vangelis Vasalis, which was an ML machine learning engineer. So, which was the concept of the NeurAdapt project? Despite Irida Labs is a company and its core business is in applications domain, there was always a strong research culture within the company. There are many people with PhDs. So, in this context, and being in the business of embedded computer vision from the beginning of the deep learning era, let's say, we always found it intriguing the disparity between the qualities of biological neuronal circuits and their efficiency, and the state of the art of computer vision models, which are still to this day, especially in the embedded vision world, are still convolutional neural networks. While mounting evidence indicate that the efficiency of biological neural networks rely on very complex inhibition, excitation, mechanisms with competition or cooperation dynamics within nearby neurons. CNNs, artificial CNNs cannot be more different than this. Also, the optimization of hardware for inference of convolutional neural networks, and also the tool chains around them to train them and to design essentially CNNs has effectively been optimized around the most prominent architectures in that field. So effectively, this has limited the practical uses of CNNs in the real world deployment scenarios into only feed-forward models and static graphs, static CNN graphs, which can only perform inference in a fixed time or resource budget on a specific hardware, I mean. Especially this last issue is something that we came across several times in the last couple of years working with several clients, seeing that if we had at hand some kind of architecture that can temporarily sacrifice some, had the ability to temporarily sacrifice some accuracy in order to perform inference on a more limited, let's say, resource or time limitations, could be very useful to many applications. So the objective of this project was dual. First, it was to investigate ways to enrich the cooperation of CNN models, which is the convolution, of course, and create a more expressive building block for CNN architectures, using only, of course, conventional tools and established training algorithms in order to be fully compatible with existing tool chains and hardware to train those things. And second was to investigate ways of training CNN models to have the ability to perform inference under various computational budgets and accuracies without needing to perform any additional training, just to tune some parameter or during inference and be able to to have a more a less accurate but more quick or more resourceful manner. The solutions that we develop are a convolutional cell with an architecture that is an analogous to the pre and post synaptic signal paths of the biological neural nets, creating paths from the input and the output of the combining the input and the output of the convolutional models in order to further modulate the output of that module. And during the course of the project, we evaluated that in several, let's say, in several scenarios, more small architectures, small tasks, large architectures, more difficult problems. For the small architecture and the small tasks, it was very easy to converge and have very nice results, very much significant increase in accuracy with minimal computational overhead. But when trying to different models, things got more, let's say, complicated, and we are still developing some training supervision mechanisms to deal with that. On the other front, we have developed a modified convolutional cell like the one the previous I showed you, and combining some clever tricks with stochastic, with training those cells in a stochastic regime. We were able to essentially train models that can rank the significance of each kernel for each specific datum they are processing each time. So by tuning a single threshold during the inference, we can operate those models not to a fixed point in their accuracy complexity budget, but along a specific curve, and thus being able to have much more flexibility in the utilization of these models at real time by deploying those models. This last quality was deemed very useful from the Urda Labs core business, and thus it is right now integrated in the Urda Labs most prominent software framework, which is called Perceive AI, which which is a tool that integrates pre-trained machine learning models, training tools together with vision system design, data management, and ready-to-use deployment tools for on-device intelligence for IoT and embedded vision applications. We have also released some contributions to the ecosystem, either as a free-to-use, free-to-experiment, already pre-trained models, dynamic models, or to some on-demand assets in the AI on-demand platform. So that's all from me. Special thanks to Samuel and the whole AI4Media team, and Professor Nick Usebe, who was our mentor for his insights and insightful comments, let's say, during the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elias, as well, and Nikos, who hasn't joined but was also very present in all of the work process as well. So thank you for the presentation. Bringing back my screen, I think we're now onto the RoboCoffee project, and now it's time we bring up Matt for RoboCoffee. If you can stop sharing your screen, Elias, then we can.
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
I have minimized things and it's very difficult to find. Oh, sorry. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Elias.
Good to see you, Matt.
Hi there, Samuel. Thank you very much. You can hear me okay?
Hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful. Okay, so hi, everyone. I'm Matt Perver. I'm going to talk about the RoboCoffee project, which is short for Robust and Adaptable Comment Filtering. And I'm representing a team from the Josef Stefan Institute, which is a public entity. So it's a public research institute based in Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia. We're a research group who are mainly interested in natural language processing, but we've got interests in machine learning of a sort of wider sort as well. We're particularly interested in explainable machine learning, in visualizing machine learning processes and decisions, and in combining symbolic and neural information within machine learning models. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is that applied to natural language processing. So the problem that we were looking at on this project is about comment moderation. So trying to produce models for automatic detection of content in online media, in online text media that needs moderation. We all know what the problem is. We're all familiar with this in our lives these days. When we look at online text media, this is usually newspaper, news articles, but it could be online forums, discussion pages, and so on. We will find lots of user-generated content, very useful for understanding people's opinions, having conversations, and for driving traffic, but which always requires some kind of moderation. The more open the platform is, the more people are free to contribute their content, the more problems we run into in terms of inappropriate, offensive, illegal, or untrustable content being contributed. So newspapers and other similar platforms will tend to employ human moderators to do that moderation. Of course, there's been lots of work in automating it, but automating it can be very difficult depending on the scale that you're operating at, and our particular interest is depending on the language that you're working in. So we're based in Slovenia. There are lots of minority languages like Slovenian all around Europe, where there really aren't pre-existing models, and there are very few pre-existing data sets which would allow people to create their own tools, and there aren't really existing tools that they could go and get off the shelf. But of course, the problem is exactly the same. If you go and look at any, this is a Croatian newspaper, for example, online, you'll see that there are articles, people comment under them, they're commenting in Croatian, of course, and they're no nicer or nastier than people who are commenting in English. So we need the same kind of moderation tools. But businesses like this have a real problem that tools don't exist, and it's very hard to find toolkits or datasets to build them from. We're taking, people generally take quite a conventional approach to this problem, which is one of text classification. We want to try and train a model which will spot which text needs moderating, which doesn't, and then just hold the one that looks like it needs moderating to be possibly shown to a human before they decide whether it appears in public. Whatever approach to classification you're taking inside, and this could be something very old-fashioned like a linear model, or it could be something much more up-to-date like a prompt-tuned or prompt-trained ChatGPT kind of model. But the problem will generally be the same, that you will need some labeled examples in order to get optimal performance. Once you've got enough data, once your model has been trained in whatever way you're going to train it, you can get great performance in most cases. But you will always have this learning curve problem here over on the left-hand side of the curve where you haven't been able to show your model enough data in the language and the genre that you're interested in. And of course, if you're working in less resourced context, this is going to be tricky. You will have way suboptimal performance. And that's what we're trying to deal with on this project. So we've taken the approach of transfer learning, where we're trying to use other data sets, other models, other ways of adapting in order to train models from which a moderation model can be seeded, if you like, or can be adapted. The idea in our case is mainly to use data in another language or in a series of other languages, but which embodies the same problem, to train a model where that data is available and has already been labeled, give ourselves a pre-trained model which can be transferred over to the less resourced language and then used much quicker and adapt much quicker. We found we can be very successful at this, and we can produce models which not only have improved performance across the board by training them because we've been able to train them on other data and make them more robust, but which really give a large boost over here on the left-hand side of the curve where there is very little labeled data in the target language available. So in something like Slovenian or Croatian, or we've also been working with languages like Estonian, where we don't have labeled data available, we can get off to a much faster start, build a tool that we can roll out and allow people to use much quicker. So the bulk of our work has been going on looking at different methods for doing that transfer learning step. We've looked at using various different kinds of pre-trained language model, pre-trained on different kinds of data, on different genres of data, on different languages. We've looked at various different methods of transfer, transferring weights over, using whole models, using adapters, and so on. And we've looked at various different ways of intermediately adapting the language model without needing labeled data by doing things like language modeling on the appropriate target language on unlabeled data. And we found that putting those together, we can reduce our requirement for training data by over 50%. With very, very little effect on the performance of the model. In most cases, 1 or 2% is what we saw. In some cases, there was no effect at all. We've also been looking at other ways to support that when it's rolled out and given to someone who actually wants to implement it. We've been working with human-in-the-loop methods, using active learning to help when a human moderator is actually then reviewing the decisions of the model, to help feed those decisions back to improve things and make them more robust on the fly, even faster. And we've been looking at ways of visualizing the particularly difficult or more variable examples that the models have to deal with to help select those examples and help the moderators understand how the decisions are being made and improve that human-in-the-loop learning even more. We've produced a range of tools that we would love it if people wanted to use. We have code bases that embody our active learning and our model adaptation techniques so that you can try it on your own models. We've produced data sets that people can use in less resource languages for training and testing. And we produce pre-trained models that you can just use off the shelf through things like the Hugging Face API to actually just try this in multiple languages. We've been talking to and are testing this with 3 news publishers in countries with less resource languages. So it's being tried out in the real world as well. This is us. We're a team, as I said, mainly of natural language processing and machine learning people. We'd like to thank AI4Media very much for giving us this opportunity. We'd like to thank Samuel, who's been accompanying us the whole way along, and particularly Adrian Popescu, who's our coach, who's given us lots of very, very helpful feedback. We would love it if people were interested in testing these tools and were available at any time to talk about that and point you in the right direction. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. And again, I haven't mentioned it before, but there's a lot of opportunity with the research that has been done in these 5 projects, a lot of exploitation possibilities. So for those that are still with us and I found these interesting, the contacts are there. If you miss them, reach out to me and I'll steer you in the right direction. So let's look at collaboration opportunities as always. Then we move on. Thank you, Matt, once again. We move on now to project number 4, and that is Smite. And I think we have Victor on the call.
Hello. Hi.
Good morning, Victor. The floor is yours.
It's evening for me.
Yes, you're a bit further away. Hope everything is good on that side of the world.
Everything good, yeah. Today I'm hailing in from Melbourne, so it's even later. But I hope you can see my screen now, and as I'm eager to present our work. So I think I'm going to go against the grain in that I will take less than 5 minutes to talk about a project. So our project is Smite, preventing the spread of misinformation with AI-generated text explanations. We are from the University of Manchester mostly. Let me just move this out of the way. And yeah, so we're researchers from the University of Manchester. So we've already heard it a couple of times today, so fake news are not really good, right? So, and assessing the veracity of these claims, whether something is fake news or whether some claim has substance, is becoming more and more important in the modern world. But it is a task that the public is often ill-equipped to do. So while some of these claims are obviously bogus, so some such as official German government data suggests the fully vaccinated will develop acquired immunodeficiency syndrome by the end of January 2022. Well, that was a prediction that didn't happen. Some are a bit more tricky to identify whether they're true or not, right? So here, the claim is that the EU did not help Britain during the Falklands War, and instead sent weapons to Argentina. Well, is that true? Is that not true? It's a bit tricky, right? It definitely not as bogus and clearly identifiable as the one on the left-hand side. Well, be it as it is, misinformation is spreading and is causing real harm. So from impact on climate change to impact on sort of public health to interference with elections in various countries, right? So this gives rise to the enterprise of fact verification, as you all know, as we have heard a couple of times already. But because of, as we already mentioned, with just the sheer fact and the monetization value behind it, manually verifying essentially each article becomes very costly, right? So journalists cannot just keep up with the sheer volume of these fake news as they appear. So which gives rise to a sort of automated fact verification approaches, right? So typically, fact verification goes somewhat like this, where we have a claim that we would like to verify. Very fittingly, arson is the reason for Australian bushfires, is my go-to example. Doesn't have to do anything that I'm in Australia today, but then there would be some sort of relevant information that will be retrieved according for that claim, and based on that information and the claim, some fact verification model, which is typically a neural network classification model, would predict whether sort of this claim is warranted by the relevant documents or not. So we, in our project, what we aim to do and what we did is we went beyond that. Instead of sort of stopping at this classification barrier of the verdict here, we decided to look at fact explanation generation. So essentially, we were developing a fact-checking tool that, rather than just saying, no, this is wrong, or yeah, this is correct, writes an explanation based on the evidence somewhat like this. So here, this claim is potentially misleading. Why is it misleading? And in addition to that, we also looked at how can we, because now this is not a false or wrong problem anymore, which is easily evaluated sort of by metrics such as accuracy. We also conducted human-centered experiments that produce metrics in order to assess the quality of explanations. So this is sort of typical explainability and natural language generation metrics such as sort of faithfulness and plausibility. And so this was our project in a nutshell. So early on we recognized that sort of the background corpus here is more optional, and we focused on essentially classifying and explaining verdicts based on ground truth journalist-written fact verification articles, long articles. So essentially, just like any other machine learning projects, we need three things. We need data, we need models, and we need metrics to evaluate these models. So data, as I mentioned before, were fact verification articles that we collected from experts together with the sources that they conducted, which we ended up actually not using. But essentially, we had a data set of fact verification articles, which are written by journalist experts. We used those to train fact verification models. So starting from sort of BART and T5. So if you're a researcher in NLP, probably these things tell something to you. So essentially, generative models to learn to generate the textual explanation of why a verdict is made based on the claim that is to be verified, and also the evidence, which is in our case the article. And then we went beyond. We generated these explanations and we showed them to crowd workers, and then we used crowd workers to collect a large data set of essentially ratings for the explanations. And then we used more machine learning methods to learn to automatically approximate these human judgments. So again, here we use data that is written by experts as opposed to error-prone annotation by crowd workers, which has been shown that it's not always best quality. The metrics that we were looking at, as I mentioned before, are typically typical NLG metrics, and also typical explainability methods such as sort of plausibility, convincingness, and faithfulness. And this whole thing was developed sort of in iterative sprints, aligning with also the timelines of SMITE, with AI4Media, and it also allowed us to sort of incorporate human feedback at various points, and to learn and anticipate sort of risks and mitigate them accordingly. Of course, we didn't manage to mitigate all the expected or the errors that we, or sort of all the risks that we encountered. For example, we were cut off from using our main crowdsourcing platform in the world, which is something that you cannot plan ahead. Even if you take into account everything that might happen, there's always something that might happen that is not accounted for. And in this case, we are very thankful for AI4Media to be very lenient with us as we caught up to fix these problems, to give us the corresponding leeway in terms of a couple more days and weeks and months to finish the project. So I just need to move this a bit to the side. There we go. So, of course, no presentation is complete if I don't show you any graphs. So here we have that out of the way. Let me just really quickly summarize what these graphs mean. So we found that our explanation model can actually explain the verdicts reasonably well. And the more data we give them to train, and the bigger the models are, the better. So this is maybe a bit unsurprising if you're following the trends in machine learning and natural language processing nowadays. And also we found that given the full articles, model performs much better if we only give it incomplete information, which again is something that probably is to be expected, but it's not that it completely breaks down. So even if we have very incomplete information in form of Google search snippets, our models can still learn to sort of explain why a certain verdict was made. When we showed these generations to humans, and these human evaluations suggest reasonable performance, so we can see that along most of the metrics here, the questions are sort of positive, negative, right? Does this contradict itself, or does this contradict the article? Is there some hallucinations, or does it make up some new information which wasn't in the article? So all of these scores are very heavily tilted towards false, which suggests that the human actually found our generated explanations more or less reasonable, which again creates another problem where when we try to learn these judgments using machine learning methods, of course, we have the skewed problem of, or sort of skewed data distribution problem, where most of the examples are belonging to one class, which I believe is something which we already talked about today. Nevertheless, accounting for all of that and using corresponding statistical baselines to account for essentially this class imbalance, we are very able to train models that correlate with human judgments better than the unsupervised or sort of statistical baselines. Let me see. Now would be the time, because I was supposed to talk about, sorry.
To wrap up.
Time to wrap up. Okay, well then let's skip the demo. It was boring anyways. So call to action, I don't know. I guess don't spread fake news, but that's preaching to the choir. So more interestingly, I guess, reach out to us if you're interested in automated fact verification. And thank you from Manchester. So this is the team, and we had 2 research assistants and a PhD student helping us. We're from the University of Manchester. Feel free to reach out. And at this point, we also want to, again, say thanks to AI4Media and our coaches from IBM in Dublin, who helped us carry over this process and this project smoothly. And I suppose also, we're very lenient with all the paperwork that they had to do because of us in Manchester doing things differently. I don't know. It was a lot of paperwork, but everyone was very patient with us. So thanks a lot for that, and thanks for thanks for all the advice, for all the coaching, and we're happy to be part of this the larger project of AI4Media.
Thanks, Victor. Maybe I can suggest, because the demo, just to keep with time, but to maybe make the demo available to everyone that might be interested in seeing firsthand what you were talking about. You might want to paste that in the chat if it's accessible on YouTube or a similar channel. Then we can
absolutely, that is on YouTube. I'll just paste it in the chat,
and we can follow that as well. So thank you very much, Victor. And then we wrap up with traces. So we have Irina with us. Thanks for hanging on until this hour. The floor is yours for the traces presentation.
Okay, thank you. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. Okay, let me share my presentation. Okay, so all right, I'll present the traces project. I'm the traces coordinator, and audio like this.
Yeah, it's still loading.
Okay, it's loading. Got it. All right. Basically, I'll just shortly present what was the general aim of the project. It was to create technologies which would detect human and automatically generated disinformation. You heard already a lot about this topic, so this is just another point of view. And we have a special emphasis on lower resourced languages. So we use European Commission's definition for disinformation, which defines it as false or misleading content that is spread with an intention to deceive. And when we started working on this topic, we encountered actually several issues. One of them was that we were working for low resource language, and we realized that there are actually no guidelines on how to create solutions for a new one. We also realized that while human disinformation was previously investigated using psycholinguistic markers of lies for English, at some point this idea was abandoned, and currently human disinformation was detected only for the wrongness of the information, its potential harm, but not for its intent to deceive. Obviously, most work was done for English, especially when you consider human disinformation from its intent. We are also detecting textual deepfakes and text generated by language models, and most work was for English, with a few other languages covered by the language models recognizers like Chinese and Russian. So we selected as use case Bulgarian, obviously because we are in Bulgaria, and also the social media texts, because everybody can post in social media. And we encountered several other problems. First of all, even if there is research on detecting Bulgarian fake news, the social media data sets available contain a maximum of 5 to 10 messages annotated as fake, which wasn't, of course, enough for machine learning models. And from the psycholinguistic point of view, there was almost no research or resources on the linguistic markers of lies for Bulgarian. And we needed those because disinformation is actually a kind of lie. So we generated several solutions, new resources, including new data sets, many more data sets, many more messages annotated as containing true information and disinformation. Some of our resources are for Bulgarian only, but some are adaptable to other languages. We also created guidelines for lower resourced languages, a very detailed data management plan, thanks to the mentors assigned to us by AI4Media, which can be used for any other project of this type. And we also created an educational event for Bulgarian society and journalists. We have presentations from there, which we plan to translate to English. We are releasing machine learning models and some Python scripts, which are actually contributed to a prototype web tool, which is at a low technology level. For this reason, these technologies are actually available under certain legal restrictions. For example, they cannot be used for police investigations and in court proceedings, exactly because its technology is just validated in lab. And basically how our solutions work, we are detecting human disinformation by using machine learning classifiers based on psycholinguistic markers of lies and human annotation for disinformation. And we are detecting textual deepfakes, considering them not only automatically generated texts, but also some such texts which actually contain fake information. And our tool contains a combination of these machine learning models. You can test it. You have to actually have text in Bulgarian because it works only for Bulgarian, but its interface is in English too. So we try to create resources which can be used for other languages. First of all, we created adaptation guidelines, which you can use to recreate eventually our resources and technology for your language. You can see what challenges we had eventually, if they actually are matching your language or not, because we know that every language situation is specific. We also created a much larger hierarchy of linguistic markers of lies, which can be used for other languages, slightly adapted in terms of realization. And we have Python scripts, which can be used for data sets, cleaning, annotation, and anonymization. If the texts have been pre-processed with tons, of course, some language adaptation is needed. However, Stanford covers many languages, so it should be kind of fine. Well, this is our team. It featured 2 senior researchers who were more like consultants, and a lot of students, which were very helpful. And it is a very interdisciplinary team with linguists, journalists, and computer scientists. Currently, we are starting a continuation of the project called Traces 2. We are looking towards future commercialization, and also we want to extend to our languages, and thus we are looking for collaboration with other researchers and companies. Well, these are the links which I guess will be shared after, and that was all for me. I don't know how much time it passed, but I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. I have to say the last was the fastest, so you kept to the time and still have 20 seconds to spare, so good for you.
Yeah,
And,
I measured
thank you.
12 times.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So that brings us to the end of our 10 presentations. So thank you very much to everyone. And we're at coming up until 12 CEST, so I think we can still fit in another 10 minutes for Q&A. So this is the time where hands can be raised or questions are put in the chat. And while people that are still with us, the participants that are still with us, think of something, I do have another question. And this time I'm going to send over to Matt and Robo Coffee. And my question is, this is kind of a bit of maybe a naive question, but why is there, it's not directly related to your project, but kind of the scope of it in the sense, every once in a while I'm on these online newspapers and things like that, and I'm kind of astounded or astonished by the quality of the comments and the way that people just interact there. And I'm thinking, why do these online journals or these platforms keep these comments open, knowing that it's going to be, I wanted to say a bad word, but asterisk show. It's just crazy. People think that they're, I don't know. I could spend an hour just to think. Speaking of the things that I've seen there, but what's your perspective on the value of having these places open, almost like here's a community where you can talk garbage about the topic that my news piece is about? What's your view on that?
I think there's several answers. I'm not really the expert, of course, but we've spent quite a long time talking to news publishers who are the people who do run these platforms and who are the ones who have an interest in keeping them open. And there's kind of a cynical answer, and I think there's a less cynical answer. The more cynical one is that it does just drive people to go to the pages and read them. And that's how the newspapers end up wanting to count things. The more page impressions, the more clicks they get, the more people who therefore see the adverts that are probably being displayed on the side of their pages, the more they make money through their online issue. And having a comments section is one of the things that brings people there, because people are excited to engage in this. Whatever your view on the quality of their engagement, right? Engagement is positive in that sense, but there's a more kind of genuinely well-motivated reason as well, I think, is that a lot of journalists and editors are in the business because they actually really do see it as their mission to encourage open information and open discussion, and that's the only way to do that. And it's better to have that on a moderated news site than it is on a completely uncontrolled and general social media site in many ways. You're more likely to get relevant discussion. You're more likely to get discussion that can be seen and acted upon by journalists themselves. So it can be a useful source for the journalists, and it can just be a genuinely good forum for freedom of expression. It has its problems, which we need to deal with, but there are good reasons to keep it open.
Maybe just to add, hi. There are in fact also some portals that decided to cancel comments. So just recently, like a few months ago, one Slovenian portal just closed down the comments. So I think what you mentioned, it's also observed by the companies, and they have to decide either to go for this sort of freedom of speech, whatever it means in this context, or to close it down.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Sonia. Just picking up on your two last presentations, RoboCoffee Traces, working on languages that are not as predominant in Europe, let alone the world. I'm curious to see if there would be any kind of collaboration between those two projects. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for future work. So we have a question in the chat from Marius, who is actually from our second open call, asking about promotion activities. What promotion activities did you carry out for your projects? Anybody want to, I guess this is transversal to all 10 projects, not necessarily the research, but anyone that's still with us want to share any, maybe learning, like positive promotion activity that rather than just going through social media websites and events, but maybe kind of one particular activity that they carried out that delivered significant value to their project? Anybody want to have a go at that? Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I could just briefly, one of the things we did is we kind of ran a series. We thought of it as a workshop, but it ended up being like a series of individual sessions with people. So we advertised and invited lots of people through sort of first and second-hand contacts to sign up for sessions to come and talk to us. And we spent a couple of days talking to people about what they were interested in doing. And this was some sort of startups and SMEs who work with text, and some were news publishers, and some were broadcasters, TV and radio broadcasters. To talk to them about what we'd done and see if they were interested and see what directions we could go in with that. And that was really productive, having those one-to-one discussions. We talked about lots of different things.
Yeah. Maybe if I could put Irina in the spotlight as well. I know the Traces Project did the summer/winter school, which was, partly promotion, partly research oriented, but still I think was in terms of bringing people into the project was quite successful.
Yeah. So we organized a winter school for journalists and general public, and people were quite interested. Well, additionally to this, we actually have a journalist in the team, and so we published a lot of news media articles on the topic. So we did a lot of advertisements. And we organized a game in which we invited adults and children to actually recognize if some statements are fake or not, and to share why they consider them such. And this also attracted a lot of attention.
Yeah, some good examples from the Traces Project as well. Anyone else want to share their experience? It's coming up to 12. I'm sure people are getting hungry. All right, so I'll give thank you, Matt. Thank you, Irina, for the reply to Marius's question. I'll give the floor to any final questions, if there are any, before we wrap up.
Maybe very quickly, I don't know if the projects would like to share any main achievements, like maybe for the research ones, a key publication to a conference or a journal, some open source code dataset, or an initial collaboration for exploitation. No need for all of them to answer, but let's say just some highlights if they want to share with us in a short time.
Thank you, Yanis. George, you raised your hand.
Yes, yes, I did. This was it was a bit strange for us because we are coming from an application project. So, in a way, developing a data set. We developed a data set which is basically based on Europeana content and basically for recommendations. This has been published in has been primarily used for ImageClef 2023. And has been published now also in the Zenodo community of AI4Media, and also uploaded in this AI ODP. So I think that's, but I just say it because it was strange for us, because as I said, we were an application project and we were not supposed to do that. But additionally we did that, and it was a great experience in doing that. So we developed a training data set and if you want a test data set for the recommendation task, for our recommendation tasks and things like that.
Thanks, George. But yeah, I'm not sure if anyone else wants to jump in, but it was, from what I recall, a good number of publications developed at least by the research projects, and most, if not all, been made open access. So, contributing to that spirit of making things, sharing with the community, which is what AI4Media is also very, encouraged by. So giving, receiving, and then also giving, receiving funding and also giving back to the community, which is always positive. Okay, so we are at the hour, so I won't keep people more than allocated time. So I'm going to wrap up with a special thank you to the 10 funded projects for the great work that you've done over the 9 or 12 months of projects. I've learned quite a lot. I followed closely the research projects. Katerina, who's not here today, but she was more involved with the application. But it was good to see again the great work that was done. Some new solutions, some research that fits quite nicely current needs, which is of course as would be expected. It was a great learning experience. Great to get new information into my mind. Great to know things that are just state of the art. I would also say, at least in my position. So thank you also for promoting that experience. Again, I want to thank all the coaches, those that are here and those that are not, for having been for having had an active role in supporting the projects, which as the sub-grantees mentioned today, they also benefited from quite nicely, and is also being carried out with the projects of the second open call. So it's a very important experience for everyone. That being said, a lot of results from these projects are available on our community. We're putting things up on our Zenodo community online. Those results that can be shared with everyone. Some aspects or some results are also on our AI on demand platform. So again, repeating what I just said, we've given, we've also received, and we're sharing with the community. I'm not sure what else I can say, with exception to thank you to everyone for having been here today. I hope that everyone sort of benefited from this session. At least we gave the spotlight to our 10 projects one last time, and we'll be repeating this again for our second open call projects. And before I forget, we have a booklet that we've been developing in parallel with just the success stories of these 10 projects. It will be available on our AI4Media website. So this will be definitely shared with everyone, so you can read a bit more about the results of their work. That being said, thank you again to everyone. I wish you all a lovely day, a rest of a good week. We're coming up to our well-deserved holidays. I hope, if you haven't already, enjoyed them. So I do wish you a great summer break, and with a lot of energy to restart back in September. So I'm sure I'll be seeing many of you again in the near future, next couple of weeks. For those that I don't see too soon, it's been great, and I wish everyone well. Until we see each other again. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.